You've seen this happen, right? Somebody's got a huge online following. We're talking millions of followers, but they try to sell a simple t-shirt and crickets. It's this weird puzzle of our time. How can you have all that attention, but it leads to absolutely zero action?
Well, marketing genius Seth Godin has a name for this. He calls those big numbers, the likes, the followers, false proxies. And it makes so much sense. I mean, they're super easy to count, but they're basically worthless when it comes to building what really matters, connection and trust. And let's be honest, those are the only things that ever actually lead to someone buying from you.
Okay, so if chasing likes and followers is a dead end, what's the alternative? What actually makes people buy? What's the real secret sauce behind a brand that doesn't just get attention, but earns real loyalty and sales? Let's dive in and break down the blueprint.
All right, first things first, we've got to totally redefine what marketing even means. It is not about hustling or shouting at as many people as possible. Godin says it's something way more profound. It's about making a genuine change for a very specific group of people. You see, it's a generous act of serving, not some selfish act of just trying to sell stuff.
This is a huge shift in thinking. So let's break it down. The old playbook, that was advertising. It was all about spending a ton of money to interrupt people, to basically rent their attention for a few seconds. The new playbook, though, that's marketing. And it's about spending your effort to create something so good, so valuable, that people choose to talk about it. One feels like a tax you have to pay, the other feels like a gift you're excited to receive.
Okay, so the big question is, how do you actually do that? How do you create that gift? Well, the blueprint starts with part 1, and it's a step that's, well, it's simple, but it is not easy. It all starts with the product itself. You have to make something that is genuinely, truly remarkable.
Now, let's be super clear about what remarkable means here. It has nothing to do with being flashy or loud. It's not some cheap gimmick. All it means is that your thing is literally worth making a remark about. It's so interesting or different that people can't help but tell a friend about it.
And Seth Godin has this perfect story to explain this idea. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're driving through the beautiful French countryside. You're on a long road trip, and for hours, all you see are these endless fields filled with cows.
You know, for the first few minutes, it's kind of charming. Oh, look, cows! But pretty soon, a cow is just a cow. Then another cow, and another. They just become part of the background. They're boring. And that boring landscape of sameness, that's where most businesses live.
But then, out of nowhere, you see it. A purple cow. Suddenly, everything changes. You'd slam on the brakes, right? You'd be completely mesmerized. You've never ever seen anything like it in your life.
And here's the key. You wouldn't just look at it. You'd stop the car, you'd pull out your phone, take 100 pictures, you would tell everyone you know about the purple cow you saw. See? The purple cow markets itself. That's the goal, to create something so unique that people talking about it isn't a marketing strategy. It's just a natural, inevitable result.
Okay, that's a great story. But let's see how this works in the real world. Meet an entrepreneur named Octavio Urzúa. He's spotted a problem that a lot of us have. You know, those super awkward, hard-to-reach windows that are a total pain to clean. It was this common frustration that just didn't have a good solution.
So he looked around and found some window cleaning robots already on the market, but they were all super complicated with like 4 different buttons and confusing settings. So he did something radical. He simplified it. He redesigned it down to just one single button. And that was his purple cow. The simplicity itself was what made it instantly remarkable.
But here's the thing. Having a purple cow is only half the battle. A remarkable product is completely useless if you're showing it to people who don't care. So that brings us to the second part of the blueprint. You have to find your people. You have to obsessively focus on who your product is actually for. This means forgetting the idea of reaching everyone. That's a fool's errand. The real goal is to find the smallest viable audience, the smallest possible group of people who will totally get it, who will fall in love with it. You stop focusing on demographics, like their age or where they live, and you start focusing on psychographics, what they truly believe, what they deeply desire. That's the game changer.
So, how do you find these people? Godin's advice is incredibly practical. He says, just find 10 people, 10 perfect people who you think are your audience. Bring your idea to them and listen very carefully. If they love it, fantastic. They'll probably tell others. But if they don't, the problem isn't them. The problem is your product. It means you have to go back and make something better.
So,
let's get back to Octavio and his one-button robot. He was totally convinced he had a winner on his hands. He went all in, placed his very first big order, 200 units. He was ready to go. The launch was imminent.
And it was a total disaster, an absolute failure. All those friends who had said, "Oh yeah, I'll totally buy one," well, they all vanished. Not a single one bought a robot. So there he was, stuck with a container of 200 robots and absolutely zero customers. It was a tough, brutal lesson. A great idea is nothing without the right audience.
But he didn't quit. Instead, he did exactly what Godin's philosophy suggests. He pivoted. He literally started going door to door in his neighborhood, offering to clean his neighbor's windows himself, using the robot. He proved its value, one person, one window at a time, until the word finally started to spread.
So now he had the two key pieces, a remarkable product and his first true believers, his smallest viable audience. But there was still one crucial piece of the puzzle missing. He needed to wrap it all up in a powerful story.
Because here's the real secret to all of this. People don't buy what you make, they buy what it means. Just think about it. Why does someone pay $120 for a simple Supreme t-shirt? They are not buying cotton. No way. They're buying a feeling. They're buying a connection to a tribe, a sense of status. They are buying into a story.
And this is exactly what Octavio did. He gave his brand a name, Osoji. It's a Japanese word for a philosophy, a ritual of deep cleaning. The idea is that cleaning your outer world reflects your inner world. All of a sudden, his robot wasn't just a gadget anymore, it was a tool to bring peace and clarity to your home. He wasn't selling a product, he was selling a philosophy.
That story became the core of his entire strategy. Think about it through these 4 pillars. He understood the systems, the invisible rules of what makes a house a home. He played the long game, focusing on time. He knew the real game here wasn't selling robots, it was creating a movement. And he did it all with deep, genuine empathy for what his customers were really looking for, which was more than just clean windows.
So, let's just quickly recap this whole blueprint. First, stop chasing those vanity metrics. Forget the likes. Instead, build something truly worth talking about, your very own purple cow. Then, find and delight the smallest audience that will actually care. Sell them the story, not just the features of the product. And finally, play the long game. Commit to creating genuine change and value.
I'm going to leave you with one last question, a really powerful one from Seth Godin himself. It's designed to force you to think way beyond just the price of what you do. So, here it is. If you were forced to charge 10 times more for what you make, what would you have to do differently? What kind of story would you need to tell? What kind of change would you need to create? And what kind of promise would you have to make to become truly remarkable? Think about that.